Hello, Scribblers. I'm Katie, the founder and CEO of the Scribblers Den, your online source for writing craft courses and writing community. Today, we're here with Jen Karner. Jen is the author of science fiction and fantasy, as well as horror stories with kissing. She's a queer writer who never attended college, but did the required reading. I love that description, by the way. A feminist banshee, also love that. We're going to talk about that later. She enjoys horror movies, tabletop games, and debating about her many fandoms. When she isn't writing, you can find her pretending to catch up on her TBR, don't we all? Trying to convince her dog to love her best or watching D&D shows. As a child, Jen devoured as many books as possible and spent her afternoons running amok in the woods. When she's not writing, she spends her time with her dogs, partners, and growing number of plants. So welcome. We're so glad you're here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So I'm just going to dive right in. What has being a published author always been on your list of life goals? And what has your writing journey been like so far? Give us the highlight reel.
So, so I was 8 when I started writing fiction. I was in first grade, and I tried to write a short horror story about a haunted tunnel of love. I remember it
I
very
love that
vividly.
it's
It
a
was a
horror
weird cartoon.
story and you're in first grade. Fantastic.
Yeah, like
It sets the
we're
tone.
diving right in. And so I refer to writing as my first love. I immediately told my parents like, "Oh no, I'm going to be an author. Like that's what I'm gonna do. I am gonna write books one day. Just you
Mhm.
wait." And they were like, "Oh, okay," at first. And then I didn't stop writing and they were like, "Oh, oh no. Okay, like
She
okay
was
then, kiddo,
serious.
like let's do this." And so being a published author was always like the only thing I really wanted to do. I come from like a lower middle class background, and so it was always very much like, okay, but like how are you going to pay the bills? And the joke with my parents is that I also write for a day job, where I write about technology for a variety of different websites and outlets. And so me being really good at writing is how I pay all my bills. Um,
Which is
and
not
and
something a lot
so
of authors can say because usually it's a side hustle. It's not something that will pay all of our bills.
yeah, I got that first hyperfixation early and just
Yep.
like never stopped. And then as you can probably tell by the library behind me, I also really love reading. And so for me it was like it's that game of I can't remember who the quote is by, but if you can't find the book you want to read, go write it
Yes.
yourself. And so I took that to heart, which is kind of how my first novel came about because um I just love Paranormal World so much, but they were
Mhm.
never gay enough for me, so I had to adjust that. As
And
far
thank
as
you for
my
doing that.
yeah, somebody's got it, right? As far as my publishing journey so far, so I started by like I didn't finish my first novel, Cinders of Yesterday, until I was over 30, which for me was a really good thing because I was a hot mess in my 20s. Um, I'm so serious. I'm so glad that I was not like a public or a semi-public figure, whatever we're calling authors at this point in my 20s, because I was a disaster. Um, but it also gave me like a lot more time to figure out who I was and the type of
Mm.
stories I wanted to tell in a better way. So I've always been kind of a late bloomer, so it worked out for me in the end. So I started by querying. I ended up querying and getting an agent and going with a small press to publish Cinders of Yesterday, which is my
Mm.
first novel. Unfortunately, none of those things stuck, and I wound up parting ways with that agent and then getting my rights reverted. And so in January of 2024, I jumped into the indie author world and became a self-published author and started doing like book conventions and local fairs and meeting more authors
Mm.
that are like local to me and continuing to work on the series that I am currently under contract on.
That's really cool. So just if we can just like skip back for like 1 second back to
Absolutely.
getting your rights reverted back to, which is awesome because I know a lot of authors when they part ways with places and publishers, that's difficult. Was it a fairly easy process or did you have to fight? You don't have to get into all the details. I'm just curious, like what it was
So,
like.
if anyone wants all the details, there's a blog post on my website about it,
Oh, perfect.
www.jenkarner.com. Just go to the blog page.
Yeah, and that'll be linked down below, guys.
Essentially, what happened was that on January 1st of 2024, because like that year just decided to sock me in the jaw right off the rip, um, my publisher came out and told a bunch of the authors that their lifetime marketing budget for a book was $500. Lifetime, like the total
Wow.
amount of money they would ever spend. Um, and when one of the other authors asked some like very easy, legitimate questions, she was offered her rights back.
Hmm.
Um, they were not doing a good job with my book, and so I was already like really unhappy there. And they had sold less than 40 books in all of 2023. It was like
Wow.
34 copies. Um, and because I was with a publisher at the time, I wasn't able to like do book events on a regular basis or like be in control of my ads or
Hmm.
anything like that that a indie author has access to. So when they offered somebody else their rights back, a few of the authors were in a group chat, and a bunch of us all requested our rights on like the same day. And I'm pretty sure I got out because I only had one book. I hadn't turned in my second book on time,
Yeah,
and it had barely sold at all. And so I was like, I'm just gonna take
pull that
this.
out.
And
Oh,
so they were willing to revert me, but then some of the other authors at the same company were not let
hmm.
out of their contracts and are still
Okay.
like kind of stuck in
Yeah,
limbo
that's all
today where
tussle.
they're like waiting for their contracts to time out to where
Hmm.
they can like escape. Um, so essentially I got lucky because my sales were bad and my brain didn't want to work on the second book that I
Yeah.
owed them.
Well, I'm glad that
Which
it was like a fairly simple process for you because I've heard some horror stories.
Yeah,
It's
I
never
and
never
like
good.
I was that book was like the book that I had gone my agent at like my original agent had
Hmm.
like done all of the work with, so I also had to like speak to my former agency and be like, "Hey
Yeah.
guys, like I really want to request my rights back because of some shenanigans. Like, how do you guys feel about this?"
Wow.
And they were like, "Yeah, we'll support you. Go ahead and do it." Like
Oh, that's so
because again,
nice.
it's not like they were making money on me when you only
Hmm.
sell like 30 copies, and all of those I think were ebooks, and the ebooks were not priced particularly high. So like I personally, my cut of royalties in 20 for like the 2023 year was like less than $30.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's why I got out. But then
So that
literally
all worked
as
out. Like that was such a like I'm so
It
glad that
did.
you
It
did.
like it worked out perfectly too because right after I got my rights back, I had one of the highest grossing months of my career. Like I sold
Yeah.
more books last year. I sold almost as many books last year between events and online like Kindle
Mhm.
copies, all of that. I almost hit my debut year numbers, which is
That's
like
awesome.
wild. Like the first month that I re-released, I sold something like 189 copies.
That's so
Um,
cool. Yes.
so it was very much like the universe was like, "Hey, buddy, you did the right thing."
Yeah. No, that's so good. And I think it's a great story too, because it went from being like a very like questionable thing into like a low point. You're like, wow, they're completely
Well,
like, I have to
yeah,
take this back. And then here you are doing so much more. So that's just a really cool story.
yeah, especially because I still have my audiobook
Yes.
contracts. So my original agent got me a 3-book audio deal with Tantor, and I love that because I love that people who like to listen to their books
Yes.
instead of read them.
Yeah.
It can't be me because I'm too easily distracted and I will zone out to an audiobook every time, but I support you if you like to listen to your books.
I
And so I
love
knew that I still had to deliver.
Yeah, I love audiobooks, and it actually makes me really sad that it's hard to get like indie books on audio because it is, I mean, it's a huge production, like all these things. So I understand why I can't. But I'm always like,
Exactly.
I would read so much more if they were on audio because I have like that's what I do in the mornings. I wake up, I put on
Yeah,
an
that's
audiobook, I get ready for school. Like that's it.
Yeah, that's what my partner is like. They are primarily like they're not capable of sitting still and
Yeah.
just looking at um their their phone or a book in the same way.
Hmm.
And so um they are very much like an audiobook listener anytime we do long trips, which is pretty regularly because we travel up to like we live in Maryland, we travel up to like Pennsylvania, New York, Massachusetts. I was about to say Maine, and I was like, that's the wrong state. And so anytime that we're in the car, we're
Hmm.
listening to audiobooks,
Yeah.
which is really funny for me because he'll just start wherever we're at, like wherever he's been at in a book, and I'll get in the car and be
You're just
like,
right in the middle. You're like, what's happening?
yeah, like he was listening to the Dungeon Crawler Carl books for a while. And
Yeah.
so I would get in the car and be like, "What book are we on? Have we skipped three books?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like that was a while ago." So I would just get like bits and pieces of books, which is still fun for me because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, I'll just like tune in for an hour. It's kind of like it reminds me a lot of like old radio dramas where like you
Hmm.
might tune in the middle of it and you only
Yeah.
get that one because then you're out
You
of
can't go back.
service
Yeah, you
area.
can't get it. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh.
and so yeah, because I knew I still needed to deliver two more books to Tantor, there was no like right after I got my rights back, like I made it like 4 days and then I literally sat down and cried because like I didn't want to be independently published.
Yeah.
Nothing against people who like are gung-ho about it, but I know who I am as a person and it's someone with ADHD. Um, and so I had always wanted an agent and a traditional
Yeah.
publishing deal where like they're gonna help me get audiobooks, they're gonna help
Yes.
me with distribution. I don't have to be in charge of every single finite detail.
Yep.
And so like 4 days after I got my rights back, I sat down on the floor and I cried for about 10 minutes and then I was like, no, fuck that. Like, nobody gets to take this from me. And then I got back up. And so I think it was like 8 days after I got my rights reverted, Cinders of Yesterday was available for sale again.
That's amazing. Like no, like
I
that is
decided
that
to
is
speed run it.
yeah, but that's like perseverance. And you are like you had the finished product. You just had to change its format, to an extent.
Yeah, like I even bought the original cover from my previous
Mhm.
publisher, so I didn't have to like go through the weeks of like talking to a new artist to get a
Yeah.
new cover. Um, I had a friend who had formatting software, so she formatted it for me. It was a whole production.
Mhm.
But I got it back on the shelves, and then the Queer Your Bookshelf promo happened right after that, like in
Yeah.
early February, and I got my first orange banner out of it because I was a number one new queer horror release on
That's
Amazon, and I have
amazing. Yes.
screenshots of that because I saved them.
I have the receipts. Yes.
I do. I am too type A for my own good sometimes, which is why my bookshelves are organized alphabetically. I'm so dead serious.
Alphabetical by author, like author last name, by title, like
Yes.
how are you? Okay. All
It's
right.
alphabetical. So it's alphabetical by author's last name and then chronological by series
Okay.
within. So
Beautiful.
like
Beautiful. I
um
I approve of this. I ran into somebody secondhand. Somebody was telling me about somebody that they had talked to who organized everything by author's first name. And I was just like, what? What? And neither one of
why
us
would
could
you
figure it out.
why would you do that to
I
yourself? I don't
know,
understand.
right? I'm just like,
I
nobody,
don't
nobody does that. Nobody, like,
don't what do you mean?
yeah, it was so weird. Um, so we felt the same way. I'm glad you feel that way as well. So we're not just like alphabetical snobs over here. I don't know.
Yeah, I do, however, support people who like to organize them by color because it
Yeah.
looks really pretty, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have a
hopefully,
25-pound orange cat who is currently locked out of my office and losing his mind about it.
the poor thing. Well, if your cat ends up on
He's a
screen,
chonker.
we
I adopted him from outside to be my mouser, and
yeah, we're a fan of cats. My cat had already popped on the screen just a little bit. What's his name? so we can all encourage this.
His
What?
name is Scotchy. Come here, dude.
Oh, come on, Scatchy.
Come
We
here.
want to see you.
Oh,
Oh, he is a chonker.
this
Look
is
at that.
Scotchy,
Oh, oh,
my
precious.
orange man's.
Yes.
He's so good.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
And he loves me more than anything on the planet, which is
Yeah.
great until he decides to launch into my lap when I am not expecting it. And then there's just like 25 pounds of
Yes.
cat on me.
And
Great in December,
they
not so
gain
great
like
in August.
50,000 pounds when they launch like that because like the impact, you're like, oh my God, like why physics,
I
it's physics
I
for you.
can't
It's
let him sit
horrible.
in certain positions
Yes.
because my limbs will fall asleep.
Yep. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. We love cats. Cats are great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of
But
the
yeah, I
things,
refer to him as my office manager.
as you should, yeah, mine do all my editing for me. Like they'll just come over and be like, yeah, you should cut this entire thing. More cats. Like, all right, kids, sure. Um,
Yeah, we end up with a magic orange cat. Now you guys know how we got there.
yes. Just put it in all your book. It's like an Easter egg now. Yes, do it. Do it. So you refer to yourself as a feminist banshee, which is brilliant. Like I love this as branding for you. How does this come through in your writing, and why is it something that is so important to you?
So I I came of age in like I was born in 87, so I'm like a millennial, elder millennial. I'm in the
Yeah.
millennial category, which means I was there for like the Bush presidency and all of that. And so feminism was really important to me. And so I just never stopped yelling about it ever.
Mhm.
Um, and I really like mythology and Celtic mythology in particular. And banshees tend to yell when there's a death. And so I use feminist banshee as a way to be like, no, I'm literally never going to stop yelling about this because feminism is just like it's the ability to make the choice that's right for you. I
Mhm.
have
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to stay home and have babies and be a homemaker. I think you should be able to do that. If you
Bingo.
want to be a CEO at a Fortune 500 company and, you know, be the Devil Wears Prada, I also think you should be able to do that. And feminism to me is just like the
It's a
breadth of it.
spectrum. Yeah.
It's the choice to be able to decide like what you want without your gender coming into it.
Yes.
And women's issues affect everything. If
Facts.
if you are paying women less, then they are bringing less money into the home, or they're not able to spend as much time with the kids they do have, or
Mhm.
the lack of educational resources takes away things. Um, and so I have always been really, really loud about it because I am incapable of keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Um, and so when it comes to my books, I started writing sapphic books, or sapphic stories, I should say, because Cinders of Yesterday was my first finished novel. But I started writing sapphic stories when I was in high school, which was like the early 2000s, which was a time period where like we didn't see queer books
Uh,
on the shelves in Barnes and Noble. Like you could find them in some independent bookstores depending on where you were, but
yeah.
it was like it wasn't mainstream in the way that it is now. And even now it's still underrepresented comparatively in the same way that like books by Black and Indigenous and people of color underrepresented versus like white cis het people, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I was originally told like, oh, like you if you write gay stories, you're never gonna get published. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go write fan fiction for 15 years. And I did. Um, I never stopped writing. I just went to like where my people were, and it happened to be in fanfic land.
Yes. Which I think is such a great place for all of that.
Yes. And so when I came back to writing original fiction because I missed it so much and I had so many ideas for like things that were mine. Like I wrote a lot of Buffy fanfic, I wrote
Yes.
Supernatural fanfic, I wrote so much Buffy fanfic, truly. It like upwards of 50,000 words of Buffy fanfic across many, many projects. And I would always get to a place where I was like, well, but I kind of want to do this or I kind of want to do that. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, but that's not canon. Like, what if I just made my own thing? Um, and so for years I had a story that percolated in my head until it made it to the page. But when it comes to feminism on my page, almost all of my POV characters so far have been women. Um, Partially just because like I was socialized as a girl growing up. I'm non-binary, so I don't really like claim either gender. Like I lean more towards woman, but I still like the androgyne vibe. Um, and so it's a lot of it is like women who are reclaiming their power or like punching toxic masculinity in the throat because it happens to be a fuckboy necromancer who ruined their lives,
Yes.
or
Punch
you
away.
know, things like that. Like, one of the jokes I make about Cinders of Yesterday is like, what if the thing that, like, the trauma that ruined your life was actually a terrible necromancer and you could kill him? Um, and
Yes.
so it informs the way that I like view the world, and because of that, it informs the way that my characters act.
No, that is a beautiful, beautiful answer. And I love how much like how again, how much of the spectrum it covers because I think that you're so right in that is that this idea of feminism is just you choose, you do whatever you want without gender coming into it. Um,
Exactly.
and so
Like,
many people think like feminist just means that like, oh no, it always has to be like it's a woman with a sword and doing this. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. That's not feminism. Like that's
yeah,
yeah.
that's also why when I wrote Cinders of Yesterday, like I have one character who is super explosive and
Mhm.
external, which is Danny, who is my hunter, and then I have one character who is anxiety ridden and internal, but still has like a deep and abiding well of rage.
Yes.
Um, it's just that hers is more internal than external because like it's there's so many different ways to be that
Yes.
anything that like narrows us, I am immediately like, no, let me out of the box. Let's go.
Yeah, no, no being in the box. No boxes. No boxes here. Love this. Okay, so Cinders of Yesterday, now that we're starting to talk about this, really feels like it's just a love letter to paranormal genre. And one reviewer noted it hit all the best notes of a paranormal fantasy book, magic, monsters, haunted houses, and a main character who can kick some supernatural butt. I would just love to hear more about some of your inspiration for this novel and why you pulled those elements together the way you did.
So it absolutely is my love letter to paranormal. I was an OG Buffy fan back in high school. I didn't watch most of it as it aired. I think I only watched season 7 like as it aired, but back in the day on FX, from like 5 to 7 p.m. every day, they would play reruns of Buffy. And so that's how I caught up back then because we didn't have streaming services in
No.
2003. Um, and then the year after Buffy went off the air, Supernatural showed up, and I imprinted on Dean Winchester in a surprise to no one ever. And along the way, I also like I was reading the Anita Blake novels. I was watching like Teen Wolf when it came
Yep.
out. I watched The Vampire Diaries on Netflix when it came out. I've watched the original. Like, if there's a show with magic or monsters or vampires or witches, like, gimme, I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Just
The
devoured it.
same with books. Initially, it started because so I talked a little bit about fanfic, and at one point I had an idea for like a Buffy Supernatural crossover fanfic. And then I was like, no, I don't want to make it fanfic. So I rewrote the world from the ground up and I took in all the things that I loved from those series and I left the things that didn't fit the world that I was building. Um, and so the things that I loved were like these complicated, complex personal dynamics and magic and monsters that were also allegory for something bigger than just like, it's not just a monster, it's a monster that means something.
Yes.
Um, and all of the things that I loved, and then I put them in my cauldron, aka Scrivener, and I made a thing. And I spent the better part of a decade trying to figure out like exactly how the pieces fit together. Because when I started, I had a weird little town. I had the fact that Emily's mother had been killed by something. There were weird shadows. Something terrible happened at her house. And I had a hunter who was a baddie because
Mm,
I love a good baddie hunter in a leather
yes,
jacket. I don't know what you guys want from me there. And
you are not
so
wrong.
I kind of like smushed them all together and then slowly like carved out what became Cinders of Yesterday, which is book one in the Legacy of Shadows series. But I wanted it to be all of the things that I loved about paranormal, but I wanted it to be bigger and gayer and more diverse than anything I had been able to watch as a teenager.
Yeah.
Because like um in Buffy, we had the romance between Willow and Tara. Tara, I still miss you, baby girl, forever. Um, and it was a really big deal when it happened. And because like people were like, oh my God, there are lesbians on the
Yeah.
television.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and a lot of the queer rep that I saw was always like relegated to side characters. And I was like, no,
Mm,
but like, what if it was the main characters? Like, why can't they just kiss
yes.
while they're fighting monsters? Because I also really love like the battle couple trope, like
Oh
the
my
trope
gosh,
of
yes.
the two lovers who are like holding hands and kicking ass as they like dance around and mess things up. Um, and so Cinders of Yesterday happened. I actually even did a World of Darkness campaign where I played Emily as an alternate version of Emily as a character with my partner being the DM, which helped
Mm,
me like figure out what I liked and what I didn't like and what I wanted to keep and what was like. So my first drafts and my brainstorming are all over the place. Anyone who has seen me on other podcasts may know that when I wrote the first draft of Cinders of Yesterday, there was a magic dog. There was a magic dog. He showed up for exactly one chapter and was never seen from again. And my friends are still mad at me that I cut the magic dog. And I have been told I need to make release the dog cut stickers to
yes.
satisfy them.
I
And so
support
I
this.
end up with a lot of elements in my early drafts or my brainstorming that don't necessarily make it all the way out to the final product. And that's what happened with Cinders of Yesterday, because I really had the setting of Dawson before I had like the full story.
Okay.
And I love witches and monsters and things, spooky things that go bump in the night so much that I was like, okay, but like they're all really straight and I'm not. So like I'm
How do
gonna
we fix
do it
this? Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, so like two things to respond to that. One, as I was reading, like people made comparisons with Buffy and Supernatural, and somebody made a comparison with Winona Earp, which I have like a love-hate relationship with that show. I love it. Like there's so many things, but then there are other times I'm like, wait a second, what just happened in this episode? Like this doesn't even track from a plot
Yeah,
point.
I've watched Winona Earp. I don't think I've ever actually finished the entire
Mm,
series. Like, I enjoyed it, but I didn't, unlike Supernatural, where I am a obscenely large Supernatural fan. Um, which is why I say so like Buffy and Supernatural are like
yeah,
my OG
yeah.
fandoms. Like to the point I don't know if you can see it behind me, but that's a picture of me and Jensen Ackles, and I'm holding up my bookmarks for Cinders of
Oh,
Yesterday because yes, I made him take pictures with me with my bookmarks.
as you should, as you
You know, it's the little things.
yes, it is.
Um, and so like it was really exciting to hear it had Winona Earp vibes. That wasn't really on purpose. And even the Buffy and Supernatural vibes weren't like on purpose. It was
Right.
just that they had like the tropes and things that I loved, and I think that they're the most popular and
And well
accessible,
known. Yeah.
specifically for like hunters. It's the
Yes.
same way that when we see a lot of like vampire stuff, people will like pull from the Vampire Diaries or
Yes.
Twilight, even if it is
Nothing
very
like it.
different
Yeah.
from those because it is the like the cultural zeitgeist of being like, ah, okay. And so for me it was
Yep.
like, ah, a hunter, supernatural. And then like Danny does spend a lot of time on the road, because I love the back roads vibe, which is
Yeah.
because I'm a Stephen King fan, honestly. I love that a lot of Stephen King stuff like intersects in ways that you don't necessarily expect because it's just like it's the world.
Right.
Um, and so I included the things that I loved and the things that made something feel real, and then I gave it a spin in the story shaker to make it my own.
No, that's awesome. And I love how it's just like it becomes like I think a work that comes from your heart really becomes like your love letter to the things that inspired you. And like I think about the manuscript I just finished, and I can tell you exactly like it's a love letter to this and this and this. And when I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, that really does come through. So I hope other people get that, but it was just me saying I love these things and they need to go in there. And it makes it so much easier to write.
Yeah, like when I started writing Cinders of Yesterday, I was very like separate from what we would consider like the online writing community. Like I
Mm,
wasn't really on Twitter. I wasn't like anywhere really. It wasn't until after I had finished a first draft and I was like, okay, like what do I do now? And then I was like, oh, Twitter is apparently where the writers are, which I
yeah.
found out because I had to use Twitter for my day job, because we had to share our headlines and stuff when our articles went live. And
Mm.
so I found the Twitter
Writing Twitter,
community, so to
rest in
speak.
peace. Oh, I miss it so much.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so do I.
Like pour one
Uh,
out for
and
old
so
Twitter. Yep.
and so I was in a very strange position where I was like coming in as someone who was like, well, I wrote this single draft of a book, but I don't know what to do next. Because before that, like my options were essentially like I could go buy the Writer's Digest books, like
Yep.
oh, I don't even think I have most of the ones
I
I
bought one
originally
in
bought.
2015. That's how I learned about querying was like
Yeah,
the
like I had
every agent was listed and you just
yeah, where
went
it was that
through and
like monstrously
yep.
large book that you could like see agents, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like, and then I had to like figure out how to edit it because I knew it
Hmm.
wasn't good yet. And then I had a few friends who were writers, but they were very much from like the fan fiction side of things and not the original fiction side of things. So like we knew how to like edit work because we had been writing fanfic forever, but like getting it in front of people, no idea, no clue,
Yep.
not a single iota.
But obviously you did something
Um,
right. So like
and
you
so
got there and then you ended up where you
yeah,
are now. But like you did, you figured it out.
I ex yeah, I exhaustively edited and I found community through Twitter and through doing like pitch contests. Like I applied for like Pitch Wars and Revise Pit and Dark Pit and like all the various pitch events that
Yeah.
used to happen on Twitter. Shout out to Pitch Dis, which is back, but on Blue
Blue
Sky.
sky? Yeah.
Uh, yeah, they just had their event. I want to say it was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't remember exactly because I didn't have a project that was ready, so I just
Right.
amplified it and didn't send anything in.
But amplifying is
Um,
important. So well done.
but like finding community was major because I needed other writers that were like at my level, but
Yes.
also who had like aspirations to be published. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, all that.
And
Like, because
so
you
I
did, you
figured
need
it
your
out like
community. Yeah.
bits and pieces over the years.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit kind of how you would have things in and then you would take them out and just, you just shuffle it around if you got what you needed. I am somebody who hates drafting. I cannot stand to draft my novel. My zero draft is the part I hate the most. I love revising. I want to spend so much time tweaking and changing and doing all that. So where do you fall on this? Are you more of a drafter or a reviser?
It depends on the project.
Fair.
For instance, Hallowed Ground, which is the book I am about to start revising, when I finally, so sometimes I have an issue when I'm drafting where the words won't come right because I have to adjust the perspective. And what I mean by that is that I'm one of those lucky people who sees an entire scene in my noggin,
Yes,
when I start writing.
me
And
too.
so if it's almost like as a writer when I first start, it's like I'm holding a film camera up, and if I'm not zoomed in from the right angle, my brain will just refuse to engage, which is terrible sometimes. And so Hallowed Ground, I spent like 6 months trying to write a draft, and then I wrote an entire 90,000 word draft in 45 days. Uh,
Amazing.
which was great. I love it. I can't wait to revise this sucker. But so like I was in flow for a
Mhm.
lot of that because I was averaging like 2 to 5,000 words a
Yeah.
day. Like I still have I use Pacemaker to track my word count because
Mhm.
I'm type A guys. I love a good graph. Give me charts. I love them. Um, and for those 45 days, I only took like 3 days off of writing, period. I was just like, I knew where I was going and we were going for it. And then there was like Sins of Survival, which is the sequel to Cinders of Yesterday that took me forever. The first draft, I think, took me about 6 months. The draft that's going to my editor took me about 8 months, I think, to write. And so it really depends on the story and how badly it wants to be told.
Okay.
I really do love the early process of drafting, where like a story is fresh and new and exciting. And
Mm.
because I am not a heavy plotter, I am a headlights writer or a tentpole writer. So like I know certain things that are going to happen, but I have no idea how we're going to get there. And so if I've got like a really cool scene at the very end of the book, I can
Mhm.
stay excited until the very end of the book. So I can write that one scene because I also write in order.
Order.
Um,
I do that.
re
I cannot write out of order. Like,
oh,
God
oh,
bless the
it's
people who can. I can't.
I can occasionally I can write like a scene, but then by the
Yes.
time I get to that scene, it will have fundamentally changed,
Yes.
and I'll just use it as like a guideline of like this was the vibe we wanted.
Yeah.
Um, but so when I hit flow state when I'm writing, I like to refer to it as grabbing onto the live wire of the universe,
Yeah.
because I'm a little bit woo-woo sometimes, and because it doesn't feel like I am like it's not Jen is thinking of words and then figuring out how to put them together and then writing them. It just like flows through
Yes.
me and onto the page, and that is the greatest thing in the world. There is nothing else like it. I cannot explain it to anyone who
Nope.
is not a artist of some kind. Like, if you make art and you have hit flow, you know what I'm talking about, even if
Yes.
you don't describe it the same way. When I'm talking to non-artist people, they look at me like I'm insane.
No, it makes
Um,
perfect sense. I totally get it because there have been moments and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I just wrote like 5,000 words. How did this happen? It's only been 20 minutes. I mean, I don't think I've ever done quite that much, but that's
yeah,
what it
like
feels like.
when
Yeah.
I first sat down and started the first draft of Cinders of Yesterday, I wrote 7,000 words in a single sitting
Yep.
and was like, what? What? What?
Who am I?
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so I love that aspect of it. When it comes to like the nitpicky stuff with revisions, I hate it. I hate when I have to like go through and find like repeating thoughts or phrases, like
Yeah.
echoes. I hate that. If it's more like developmental editing where I'm like, okay, like this scene isn't working, so like I like to Franken draft things. I like
Okay.
to have a draft and be like, oh, I seem to have written one complete draft and 70,000 words across three other drafts, but I like these scenes from those other drafts. So I'm just going to take them and just stitch them
Yeah.
into this draft and see what I can do. I love that part of it. So there's not an easy answer because I like both plot or I like both drafting and revising, but only certain parts of each.
No, that's okay. That makes sense. Like, and I feel, yeah, I feel like I feel like maybe you side a little bit more on the drafting, But you're right. It does kind of depend on where you're at. Like one of the
And it
easiest
also,
books I ever drafted, I was so into it, and it took me like 5 months, I think, to draft the whole thing, which was super fast for me. And I haven't hit that again, so I'm like, I hate you, draft.
yeah, it's where it gets frustrating for me was like Sins of Survival was a fairly frustrating novel because it took me so long. Part of that was because I got into my own head about it and I didn't let people see my first draft, which I should have done, and I've learned my lesson. Um, but it was also that I had spent so long going back over the same thing over and over and over that
Yeah,
I could tell you everything that happened in my sleep and backwards, but it still wasn't done.
yeah. And you were just too much in your own head about it. So that, yeah, that is
Exactly.
rough when that happens.
And like it truly got to a point where I would have to take like weeks off of writing. And
Yep.
I'm one of those people that like I'm miserable when I'm not writing. Like it has been just over a week since I finished the draft of Sins of Survival, and my brain is like, why are we not writing right
Yep.
now? What are you doing? You let us have this because I made myself take a week off, and my brain for like the last 3 days has just been like a kid having a temper tantrum in the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah, and that's one of those things like some people like write every day, some people can't, and but I will get to that point and that's when I know I have to start writing is when my brain is like, so why are you not doing this? Because I'm going to start getting really mean about it if you don't start putting your fingers on that keyboard. I'm like, okay, okay, I'm doing it.
It's also that thing where there are times where like I'll go through a writing slump and I won't write as much, and then I'll finally start writing again, and my brain is just like so happy, like suddenly it's easier to get up and I'm cooking more and I'm willing to clean the house, and I'm like, why? Why is everything in my life predicated on whether or not I am writing?
Yeah,
That
it is
seems
so
rude.
weird how much control it has over us. Can we pivot to some of the more
Yes.
difficult
Um,
aspects of your writing process and some of the things that you run into and how you tackle them?
One of the difficult parts for me is figuring out like where to start a story is one
Okay.
of the banes of my existence. I have started stories 20,000 words too early and 30,000 words too late. Both of these things have happened to me.
Mhm.
Um, me and writer's block, we are old compadres, and that guy sucks. But I've figured out like ways to trick my brain around it. Like I have a journal just for like every time I'm working on a book, I have a journal. Like this one is for Sins of Survival.
Okay. Neat.
Um, this is the second one for Sins. I can't remember if it's the first one or the second one, but according to this, I have 174 handwritten pages of notes in this sucker.
Wow.
Um, I have another entire, like every time a book becomes a whole book in my brain, it gets its own notebook. And one of the reasons for that is because when I get stuck, my brain will like grind to a halt. But writing by hand for 15 minutes actually activates a different part of your brain that makes it more creative.
Yeah.
And so I started journaling when I was in high school just to journal. And then I'll journal for like 2 pages, and suddenly my brain is like, oh, okay, all of that stupid stuff is out of the way. Now let's talk about the story. And so rather than having story bits like in my personal journals, they get their own notebook, which are color coded because I'm extra. And then it's really easy for me to like go back through all of my notes, and like especially as I'm going through and revising drafts, if I see a scene that doesn't work, I can go back and be like, okay, what was I thinking when I wrote this scene?
Hmm.
Why did I write it like this? Like, does that still fit?
Yeah.
It's also a big reason I love having printed off copies of my older drafts that get like marked up.
Hmm.
I keep all of my notes of like the original brainstorming sessions, which are very often by hand. And it's really interesting to go back and look at them after I finish a book because they rarely look the same as what I have produced when I finish a book.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that that's the hardest part is just trying to like muscle through the parts of a book that I know aren't quite clicking right in an initial draft because like I want it to be good, and if you let me, I will rewrite the same 20,000 words 70 times. Um it's a problem. Um
Is it though? Is it?
yes, yes, because I have
Oh,
to
all right.
finish the book to release the book.
All right.
Um so I would say that's the biggest problem for me is just
Mhm.
getting through like writer's block or figuring out like the way I want to do things to get it to where I want it to go. That and also my brain likes to just take a left turn that I didn't see coming, but somehow my subconscious did, and I just think it's rude when I find foreshadowing for things that I, Jen, the author, did not know about.
I love it. It makes me really happy. I don't think I get so excited. I'm like, oh, good job, past me. Like, way to
Yeah,
see
like
that coming.
I'm not like mad about it, but there have been a
Right.
few times where I've noticed it and I'm like, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Or
Yeah.
like I
Or
was
like we
at
don't
a
even notice it. A beta reader will, and they'll be like, so you put this in and that was really cool. And I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, I totally that was my thought. Yeah.
yeah, it was the same way. I was at a I was on a panel and we were talking about dark fantasy and somebody who had read my novel brought up that it had certain like allegories with like coming out. And when I
Mm.
tell you that my book had fully been out for 3 full years and it had never occurred to me. Not once. Like on stage, I was like, oh, it is.
Cool. Meant that. Totally put that in there
Yeah.
on purpose. Meant to
Sometimes
put
the
that.
blue curtains, sometimes the blue curtains are just blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that happened. That was the thing that occurred.
Yeah, that's really cool. I also love how your approach is so diverse, like when you run into those problems, like how cognizant you are of having to handwrite or read something or go back and look at these things and do journaling, because all of those pieces do activate different parts of the brain. And like that's like I use that as educational theory with my students. My students are like, why are we handwriting this? And I'm like, well, I want to use different parts of your brain. We're doing this. And they don't necessarily believe me because they know more than me, but I love that you're aware of that because I do the
You
same.
know. Yeah, like I'm neurodivergent, I have ADHD, I am a millennial, which means I grew up as we were like moving from a more paper system into our current digital system. So
Same.
like I grew up and we had a computer in my house, but we didn't have a laptop. I carried notebooks around and I still carry notebooks around even though I have a laptop and an iPad. Um, it's so many different things. Like I'll also it's also that game of like, okay, well, I can't think of what I'm supposed to do next, so I'm gonna go like do the dishes. And then while I'm doing the dishes sometimes it's kind of like a character just stands behind my shoulder and just
Yes.
starts yapping. And once they start, they never stop.
Nope.
That's why I joke that I have a hotel of characters that live in my head.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the laundry
and
for me.
and
When I go change the
so there are
laundry,
lots of
solve all my problems.
or walking the dog.
Yes.
Like anything where I'm doing something where I can like turn off my front brain and I literally don't have to think and suddenly like stuff starts to click. The one that drives me insane and will to the day I die, however, is when I get a really good idea as I'm falling asleep
Yes.
because I will remember in the morning that I had a really good idea and that it was perfect, but damned if I can remember
Nope.
literally any of it.
No. No, I never can. I'm always like, I should write it down. And we're like, nah, I'll remember it. Because if I wake myself
Gone
up enough
forever.
to write it down, I won't go back to sleep. So yeah.
Yep.
I feel
Yeah.
that. I feel that in my bones. This idea of writing craft is kind of just like a catch-all phrase that we throw around to encompass everything about the process. Where have you gained your craft knowledge from? Like, have you ever had a writing coach, or did you just read voraciously and start noticing things? Your writing community, just where did you learn to be such a brilliant writer?
It was primarily through reading everything I could get my grubby little raccoon paws on,
Love
all the
me.
time. I was a library kid, and so I would just bring home like stacks of books, and I also read really, really, really fast.
Okay.
So like a 200-page book is like maybe 2 hours for me.
Gosh.
Um, I when I read when I read Tracy Dion's first book, Legendborn, I think is
Yes.
the first one.
So good.
I read it in one sitting in about 4.5 hours. Yeah,
Wow.
even I was shocked at that one. To be fair, I was at the beach and I didn't
Yeah,
have the Wi-Fi password, and I think that that had
that
something to
helped.
do
Yeah.
with it. Um, but I also had parents who read to me when I was really, really small. My dad read us The Hobbit with voices. The voices are the important
Oh,
part. My mom read us Black Beauty, which as an
oh,
adult, I kind of think is traumatizing to read to your 7-year-old before bed, but we don't have to talk about that.
it's one of my
Um,
favorite books.
like I love
Yeah.
Black Beauty, but as an adult, like that is
It is
traumatizing.
traumatizing. It is
Um,
very traumatizing. I'm a horse girl, so like it was like key. Like every time I do anything with horses, I'm like, oh my God, am I treating this horse like Black Beauty? Like what am I doing? So yeah.
Um, and then I also found writing craft books
Mm,
and just started to read all of them. So this shelf, right? Yeah, this
okay.
shelf from
All your
here
craft
over
books.
are all writing craft books.
Beautiful.
Um,
What's
I've
your favorite?
got I've got all kinds of stuff on there. Um, Combination of Damn Fine Writer by Chuck Wendig
I
and
love that
On
book.
Writing by Stephen King are
Yes.
probably my two favorites. My favorite new addition to that is The Five Sentence Method by Rebecca Thorne, which was instrumental when I was revising Sins of Survival because I
Mhm.
always had an issue with 3-act structure and like how long the pieces were supposed to
Okay.
be. Um, and boiling it down to like 5 sentences for major plot points made it much, much easier for me. Um, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert is also
Okay.
great if you're willing to like believe in the magic of creativity a little bit, which I am because I
Yeah.
like to say all the time that creating art, whatever form, is about as close as we get to real magic because you are taking something that exists only in your brain and making it real for
Wow.
anybody who picks it up. And it's
Yeah.
true of paintings, it's true of
Agreed.
sculpture, it's true of books. Um, like I like to say that fiction is just art with syllables. We are also artists. I don't know if it's a quote from someone. I heard it when I was a
Mm.
teenager. One of my best friends said it to me, and I don't know if it's a quote because I've never been able to attribute it. So, um,
It's yours now. It's your
and
quote.
then the other one that I absolutely
Yeah.
love is the emotional craft of fiction. That one is much harder to read, but it is
Yes.
worth reading and
It's
rereading
worth the
because it's
slog. It's so good. Yeah.
exactly. Um, yeah, I've got a few others up there, but they just didn't click for me the same way. Like I've
Mm.
got Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which doesn't work for me. I've got Story Genius, which doesn't work for
Yeah.
me. Um,
I really like Story Genius. I that one for me was a slog. But the concept of it worked. So I was like,
yeah.
okay, now this is
Oh,
what I have to do.
and
But
there's one more that I love, which is Never Say You Can't Survive by Charlie Jane Anders, which I
ooh, okay.
think is especially poignant in like today's atmosphere because it's
Yeah.
very much like shit is bad. Like you should make art anyway.
Yeah. No, no. Those are good. Okay. Like I have so many I'm gonna add to my pile. Like I think I have like half of those on my shelf behind me. So now I have some things to ask for
Yeah,
from friends and
these were
relatives.
all the ones that I kept because I clear out every couple of years. I Marie Kondo my library for
Mm,
anything that just I like to keep books because I grew up like I said like lower
yeah.
middle class, like flirting with not being middle class at all.
Yep.
And so like books are the greatest like
It's a sign of
even
wealth. Yeah.
it for me it's not even wealth. It's something that if I buy it, I only have to buy it once and I have it
Yeah.
forever. And so long as I take care of it, I can reread it 100 times, which is why I have had so many books that I've read so many times that they have literally fallen
Falling
apart into
apart.
pieces. Black Jules trilogy, I'm looking at you. Uh, so many copies of those books, so many copies. And so every couple of years I'll go back through like my collection.
Mhm.
Usually when I'm like cleaning my shelves and resetting everything, because I like to do like my face out books to be like,
Yes.
look at them, they're glorious. And I'm a crow person, so I've got like bones and trinkets and stuff all over the place. And I'll figure out if there's just a book that like it wasn't a bad book, it just wasn't a book like for me. And so I'll
Yeah.
take those, I go to the
Yeah, it just
library
didn't speak
first
to
to
your
drop them
soul. Yeah.
off. And then exactly, or like there are plenty of books that I'll like read once and they're perfectly like they're great books. I know
Mhm.
I'm never going to reread them again and I only have so much space for
Yeah.
books. Um, and so I will send them on to their next home.
Yeah.
And I do that with my writing craft books too. Because I have friends who are at various stages of like aspiring to be published authors as well. And so I think it was like last year I handed off a stack like this high of like Writer's Digest, all kinds of stuff. Like
Lovely.
they put out so many great books depending on like what genre you're writing, like where you are,
Mhm.
like writing your first book, the breakout novelist, like so many books like that. But I've reached a point where like I don't need those beginner craft books anymore
Right.
because I have leveled up enough to be at the like intermediate craft level. You
Yeah.
know, I've leveled up enough to know when something is broken and that I'm not doing it right, just not
Mhm.
always well enough to do it correctly yet, which is extraordinarily frustrating.
Yes. I hate when I have an idea that is like above where I'm
It's
at.
cool. You gotta keep going.
Yeah. It's rough. So I've been there. I feel that. So what does a normal day of writing like for you? So you mentioned that you write almost every day. Um, do you
So
normally write at home? How much do you write? Just give us the inside scoop on the process of Jen.
So, for the last few years, up until last month, I had been trapped in my office only because I only had access to a PC, which was the devil. I grew up, or rather, I got my first laptop when I want to say in like my early 20s, and I
Mhm.
really love being able to like, I don't get car sick or motion sick, so like I can write on planes and trains and automobiles if I'm not the
Lucky
one
you.
driving.
Yes.
Um, and so generally, if it's like a normal day where I've done my work day, I'm usually done with work at 3 because I work part-time. And so I usually take like an hour, a couple of hours to like get stuff done around the house, get dinner handled, and then like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, sometimes later, um, I'll sit down and I usually give myself like these are your writing hours, which are
Mhm.
like 7 to 10. Because then I have time earlier in the night to like maybe socialize a little bit or go have food or enjoy
Right.
myself. But also, I am not staying up so late that I am exhausted. It has taken me a very long time to get to this point because my brain loves writing in the middle of the night. I used to say that 3 a.m. was the magic hour
Oof.
because like everyone, I am by my nature a much more like nocturnal person,
Mhm.
and because my day job is freelance for a long time, I just had dates that I had to hit deadlines. So I would just be up all night. Like I wouldn't go to bed till 6 a.m. ever.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like a wake up between like noon and 2 p.m. Person, go to bed between like 4 and 7 a.m. person, which was not great for me for a variety of things. But for writing, it wasn't terrible because at 3 a.m., there's nobody awake to distract you.
There is
Um,
not.
and so I used to call it the magic hour because it felt like it was the time where magic could be the most real. The shadows seemed heavier, the world, like, especially during summer, like when you walk outside at 3 a.m. and it's a full moon and like it smells like summer and it's that cool air, like it was something else. Um, But last month, I got myself a new MacBook Pro because my PC was dying, and now I am finally mobile again, which means I can write wherever I go, which is excellent because I travel for fun. I am a LARPer, which is live action role play. I'm a giant nerd, guys. And my partner and I travel for LARP events. And previously, I would basically just be SOL for my LARP weekends. Like, I would be stuck in the car, but I did have an iPad with the like magic keyboard, but Scrivener on iOS and Scrivener on Mac OS are not the same.
Yeah,
And
completely
my
different.
brain hated it. So even though it existed there, my
Yeah.
brain said no. And I don't like moving between apps. Like if I have an app, that's what I want to use. And I love Scrivener. Um, and so now, thankfully, that I have the MacBook, I can write wherever I go. And so when I'm in the middle of a project, I try to dedicate at least an hour to writing. Um, Much in the way that I read very fast. When I am actually in the middle of writing, like once I like kick the door in and start putting words
Mm,
on the page, they tend to come pretty fast. So like I have pumped out 2,500 plus words in an hour,
that's
um,
awesome.
which makes it easy to hit my word count. I generally write about a chapter a day because most of my chapters are not multiple scenes. So
Mhm.
I say a chapter a day, it's closer to like a scene a day, and it's usually in my first drafts between like 1,300 and 2,500 words. So not like a crazy amount. And
Right.
when I set my goals for myself, when I set it up in Pacemaker, I'll be like, okay, Pacemaker, this is the date I want to finish by, and I will set it far enough out that I only need to write like 1,000 words a day as a way to trick my brain
Yes.
and being
Because then
like,
you
oh, but
you
it's
blow
only
by
like
that. Yeah.
exactly like it's only 1,000 words, and then we have a buffer, and that way we can
Yep.
go to LARP and not be guilty about it. And it's just me running a con on my brain,
But it works.
every time.
Yes.
Uh, so. Yeah, I usually get through with work. There have been days where like I'll write a little bit earlier in the day. It
Mm,
also tends to depend on like where I am in a project. The earlier stages, it is harder for me unless I have like reached that point where my brain is essentially like a thoroughbred horse and they're about to like release the gate and let me
yeah.
go. If I'm like raring to go, like absolutely, especially now that I have the MacBook, I can sit down and just be like, I'll be there in a second, guys.
Yeah, you got to
Uh,
get it out.
but there are also definitely times where like I'll look at the clock and be like, okay, it's 8 o'clock. I don't really want to write tonight, but I should write tonight because I am better when I stay on like a writing schedule. So
Mhm.
like give it half an hour. If you haven't done like 500 words in 45 minutes, you can stop for the night. And invariably I get to like where I said I was going to stop and I'm like, but I'm like in the middle of it now. I couldn't possibly stop now.
Yes,
It's so much of my life is just running a con on my brain.
it is. And sometimes
It's
you just
it's
need to
just me
get
being like,
started. Yeah.
yeah, like I think it's like it's very funny that like I even know that I'm tricking myself. It's only me. It's not
Yeah.
like someone else is tricking me. No, I'm tricking me and I know I'm doing it,
Mhm.
but I still fall for it.
It's a very elaborate, like Ponzi scheme you have going on
It
over there.
is. It's a very complex ruse that past gen and future gen are collaborating
They
on,
are.
and present gen has no idea.
Yeah. Oh, no, I love talking to you. This is so much fun. We have more questions. Like that almost sounded like I was about to end the interview. I'm not. We're still going. Don't worry, Scribblers.
I was about to say we got more stuff to talk about. Let me
Yeah, we got
talk.
more
I'm a
stuff.
chatterbox.
Yeah, I just wanted to say like this is so much fun. I love listening to these stories and how you're tricking yourself. Um, what has been one of your biggest learning curves within the self-publishing side of things? If you could go back and since we're talking about past and future use, give the past version of yourself advice, what would it be?
to share the first draft of Sins of Survival a year earlier so that I didn't think that I had written a trash draft for so long. Um, I so when I was on deadline for Sins of Survival, I did technically finish the first draft by
Mm.
the time it was supposed to go to my editor at my previous publisher. But I was so convinced it was bad that I refused to send it to them. And I refused to send it to anyone else for years. And I mean, like, I finished that draft right before the end of the month in June of 2021. Not a single other human got to see it until October of 2024.
Wow.
After, yeah, yeah. And that whole time I was like torturing myself about it and trying to figure it out and trying to rewrite it and not getting there and convinced it was bad. And it wasn't bad. It was just a first draft the whole time.
Oh, Jen.
Uh, and then last year, after I went indie, I met new friends at a event. One of those new friends, Lou, also writes like urban fantasy, queer urban fantasy, and I was like, okay, like you're like close enough to like my realm, specifically because it was queer and because sapphic is often a harder sell, and het urban fantasy is very different than queer urban fantasy for a variety of
Yes.
reasons. And so I finally sent it to her, and then a month later she was like, "No, like it's messy, but it's good." And if I had just listened to her, or if I had just sent that off in January when I got my rights back, I might have been able to publish it this year instead of it not coming out until next spring.
Yeah.
And then there wouldn't have been 5 years between my first book and my second book, which is, as like an author in general, is
Yeah.
extremely stressful to be
Yes.
like constantly feeling like I am behind and I haven't produced and like that nobody's going to remember who I am or what the book is, and all of those like
Yeah.
evil brain weasels that I tell to go talk to someone else because I'm not listening to them right now.
Yeah, don't listen to
Um,
them. I'm glad that you
I'm
sent your book out finally because I think
yes,
that is so important is you have to let people in so
yes.
that you can move forward.
The other thing I wish I had started doing earlier was book events.
Mm,
I was told early on by my previous publisher that in-person events didn't move books, which, in my opinion, is absolute nonsense. Um, I have done well at not well, but like acceptably at
mhm.
every book event I have gone to. I've gotten to
Yes.
meet new readers. I've gotten to connect with other authors. My favorite game of going to a book convention as an indie author is going up to other indie authors and being like, "Hey, you want to like trade books?"
Yes.
Um, and it has like made me more confident as an author, and it was things that I was literally told by like people I trusted at the time, like, oh, this isn't going to do anything for you, whereas I think if I had started with those book events earlier, I would have had more momentum as I get
Mhm.
closer to book two. um I did like 2.5 events last year. I had three this year. Yeah, three this year because I'll be at Barnes and Noble in Potomac Yards in Alexandria on October 25th. And like I sold out at one of those events. I had people who had heard of me and didn't realize I was
Mhm.
at the event. Like one of them literally came up and was like, "Wait, are you the author Jen Karner?" Which let me tell you, when I ascended to the next plane.
The
Um,
author, like that is just, oh God, that is like goals. Yeah.
yeah. All of that kind of thing. Like just I wish that I had been able to make like that it hadn't been a knee jerk of like, oh, well, like I've got my rights reverted, like I have to go indie right now.
Mm,
I wish I would have been able to take the time to be like, okay, I'm going to go indie. What is my like what do I need to do
yeah.
rather than having to hit the ground at an absolute sprint and knowing I was so far behind and being someone who is kind of anxious and is neurodivergent and is ADHD
Mhm.
and works like at the time I was still working a full-time job for my day job too. So it was just like a lot suddenly on my plate. Um, I think that's the biggest thing for me is I wish that I had had time to like plan going
Yeah.
indie so that I could have, I would have had time to apply to more events, to show up more in person, to do more things like this. Whereas because I had to like I got my rights back and then a week later the book was republished and I always felt like I was behind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until this year that I started to catch up and it's only really been like the last couple of weeks, I think, since I finally finished the draft of Sins, where I could be like, oh, okay, 2026 book events, what do we got? And
Here we
even
come. Yeah.
then, like, a lot of them are already waitlisted, and because so much of it is like, what's happening in 6 months or a
Yeah.
year? And I'm not necessarily built to think that far ahead all the time.
No, it is hard how much you do have to think ahead with being an Indian author and like when you're going to do your promo, when is the book event, those kinds of things. And you have to plan. And then you're like, well, I hope this all works out in a year.
Yeah, so like what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make like lists of things that I want to do and then putting them into my calendars to be like, have you checked on this? Have you
Yeah.
checked on this? Have you checked on this? But it's also just like meeting other indie authors and being able to like make friends and network
Yeah.
so that like
Build
when
that
I'm laying
community.
on the floor screaming at the ceiling, I can like hit my group text and be like, guys, I'm terrible. And they can be like, no, you're not. Get off the floor. God.
Don't be dramatic. Keep writing. Yes. Because as writers, we are very dramatic about things. We're like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. And it's usually not that bad.
So dramatic.
Yes. But that's what makes us writers. Like we have to be. Um, So two really quick
Yeah.
follow-ups. One really quick follow-up to that actually. Is Sirens on your list of events that you plan on going to in 2026?
Yeah, I went to Sirens the last time it ran back
Hmm.
in, it was either 21 or 22. I think it was
21 was the last
21.
in-person one because 2020 was
Yeah.
online only.
Yeah, I was there for 21 and I loved it. And I still have my bag that I take to my long distance partner to
Yes.
carry books in is their books, 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 books vinyl bag. It's
Mhm.
just finally starting to tear from the amount of books I shove into it every month. Um, but I'm a gremlin on a budget, and I don't know if I'll be able to afford Sirens because it
Yes.
is a little bit pricier, and it's not like most of the book conventions I go to, I'm tabling at.
Right.
So I know that I am putting money in, but like I'm going to make money while I'm there.
Hmm.
Um, which isn't the case for Sirens,
Right. No.
unfortunately. I still want to go. I just don't know if I can feasibly afford it when I have to pay for a developmental editor and new covers and pre-order art
Yeah.
and a copyright and ads when the book comes out, especially because Sirens is in spring
Yes.
and the book comes out on April 7th.
Yeah, they do kind
So
of overlap a little bit. Okay. So, I mean, selfishly,
it
I'm
makes
kind of
it tricky.
asking for myself too, because I am going and I was just hoping that you were also going to be there. So that's selfish reasons. I want to see you.
Yeah, I really want to go. I'm just
Mhm.
not sure if I can.
Yeah. And you're right. Like for an author, like when you're looking at book events, it is not the type of event where like you go and you get a table as an author and you do things. It is much more of a like you just go and you discuss all the really cool things that are happening in the sci-fi fantasy world and um you meet a
Yeah,
lot of
which
cool people.
like I love.
Yes. Yeah. So what else is next?
Yeah, like I had
Oh, go ahead.
such an amazing time when I flew out to Colorado, but the
Hmm.
only reason I was able to fly out to Colorado is because it was a delayed birthday present. Somebody paid for my airfare, my hotel room, and
Hmm.
my ticket, which is why I could afford to fly out there.
Yeah.
This year it's a little bit closer to me, but it's still like if I didn't have everything that I have coming up in the next three
Yeah.
months, it would be doable. But I do.
Yeah.
Also, it's the fact that I did spend $500 on books.
Excellent choice, though.
at
Excellent choice.
that Sirens. And I can't, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. Did I have to ship home something like 34 novels? Yes. No regrets. But I won't have like shopping money like that. And so it's
Right.
also sad to be like, oh, but I'll walk into the bookstore and I won't be able to afford the things I want, and the authors will be there and I can get them to
Yeah.
sign them. Like,
Yeah, no, that is frustrating. So yeah.
so we'll see what happens. You never
Yeah.
know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna cross my fingers. But maybe I'll just be like at another book thing somewhere and I'm gonna see you anyway. So I'm gonna be on the lookout. I just know I'm going to that one. So selfishly,
Yeah.
again, for me, entirely for me, I would like to see you in person.
Yeah, like I still wear the hoodie that I
Yep.
got from Sirens, so I'm hoping I can find a way to make it happen. I just
Yeah.
don't know yet.
All right. Fingers crossed. So what's next for you? We know that we have your next book coming out in April. What else are you working on? And just what are all the things that we can look forward to in 2026?
So on April 7th, Sins of Survival releases, which is the sequel to Cinders of Yesterday. It's book two in the Legacy of Shadows series, which Danny and Emily have to take on a paramilitary group of hunters that are attacking anyone with magic because they think they're afflicted and need to be cleansed. And they're not going to take that sitting down.
No.
So that's book two, which I started in 2020, guys. I need you to remember this, okay? It's not supposed to be relevant to what is happening right now, for the love of books. After that, I have Hallowed Ground, which is my YA horror novel about a group of feral teens in a weird little town that have to take on property development, a murderous cult, and a thing that calls itself God.
Okay.
Uh, so that's the next book. Um, I don't know what my events for next year look like yet because I'm waiting to hear back.
Hmm.
But hopefully I'll probably have a couple of like Maryland-ish events or stuff on the East Coast because I'm based out of Baltimore and it's pretty easy to go up and down the coast.
Yeah.
And then after I finish Hallowed Ground, I'll either start on Legacy of Shadows book three if I've figured out exactly what I'm doing with it. If not, I have a LARP horror novel idea that has been percolating about something hunting people while they're at a game in the woods, and also a creepy beach horror novel that has started to percolate about. So I went to Wildwood in New
Hmm.
Jersey for the first time, and I was never a beach kid. And so I got there the first time, and they've got all of these awesome like motels that kept the vibe from the 50s with
Yeah.
the cars are parked on the bottom, but then you got like the pool above and then just like the cement. And my brain just started whirring. And so now I have a horror novel about a siren who may or may not be behind some very strange things happening at her motel, and who's to say whether she's the hero or the villain? Not me. I don't know.
Okay, that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. So those are the ones that are on the docket. We'll see what, if anything, I write, like what comes
What actually
next.
comes out,
Like,
right?
yeah, like these are what I think are going to come next,
Yes.
but I also have a stack of sticky notes on my wall, which include one-liners such as Ghost of Mars, but make it 500 pages. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean anymore. I
I
just know
I
that I
I
love
can't
the
tell you.
movie. I just I love the movie Ghost of Mars
Okay.
way more than anyone has a right to like that movie. To a point where my brain was like, no, no, write something like this, just Ghosts of Mars, but make it 500 pages. And
Okay.
so that's what's on the sticky note. At some point, I would love to write a werewolf book with like pack dynamics and buff lady werewolves
Yes.
taking fight out of the patriarchy. I also have an idea for a cozy fantasy novel about a alchemist who runs a little shop and she just wants to be chill, but these adventurers keep causing chaos in her freaking town. So I have no idea what will actually happen after Hallowed Ground because I've been thinking about Hallowed Ground for 5 years.
Mm, that's okay. Yeah, no, I think you have a gazillion ideas, and I personally love how like they're probably all going to be sapphic because we need more sapphic books out in the world. Please.
Yeah, I started writing sapphic stories when I was like in high school. Like there was a my first fantasy book attempt, which I am probably going to try to resurrect, was about it was about a girl who is actually part god but doesn't know it because every time she dies, she does physically die, but she
Mm.
immediately comes back. She just doesn't remember who she was.
Okay.
And her girlfriend, who is a master assassin of a race of creatures that have like animal characteristics, like different subraces within it. And she happens to be a tiger lady who is willing to burn the entire world to save her girlfriend.
This is
Um,
amazing. This sounds like a
and I
very
found one of
teen Gen
yeah, I
thing, and I
found
love it.
yeah, I found one of the old drafts and I was like, but like this is sapphic romantasy though.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There, I feel like there's a huge market for it, and I feel like traditional publishing is really shooting themselves in the foot by ignoring all the people who want these books. So, so
Yeah, so I just
cash
like
in.
all of yeah, all of my books are queer
Mm,
unless I explicitly look you, break the fourth wall and look you in the eye to go, no, he's straight. None of these characters are straight. Not a one.
yeah.
They're all, at the very least, they've considered it
Yep.
strongly. Um, but like I am queer. I write through the lens of being a queer person who did not
Yeah.
grow up with queer books, and if I can fix that for whoever comes after
Yeah.
me, I'm all about it. Most of my books, like Cinders of Yesterday and Sins of Survival, are very much adult books, but
Hmm.
Hallowed Ground is YA.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll see whether my future books stay in the adult sphere, cross over to YA, go back and forth. I
Yeah.
have no clue. I don't, because I am much more of a discovery writer, I think of it very much in the way Stephen King talks about in on writing, where it's kind of like it's a fossil, and you don't know really what it's going to be
Until
until
you
you
get it.
uncover the whole thing. Um, like I didn't mean to necessarily write a YA, and then I did. So, like, I'm not mad about it. I'm actually really excited about it. It was just very funny for me to be like, oh, that is accidentally young adult. Oh, okay, okay. I guess I
Yeah.
do also write young adult.
I feel like just the opposite for me. I kept trying to write young adult, and then I was like, no, this isn't wrong. Like this is wrong. And I started switching my characters to adult, and I was like, oh yeah, this totally works. So, yeah, sometimes you just don't know what it is you're trying to do until it happens.
I really like playing with like heightened emotional volatility
Hmm.
and family dynamics, which
Yes.
is like bread and butter for YA. Let's
Oh yeah.
go.
Yes.
Um, Especially because like I was a very feelsy 17-year-old and I still have all of my journals from that
Yep.
period of time. So it's very easy for me to like I don't necessarily plumb my personal trauma, but I do
Mhm.
plumb the way that I like experienced
Yes.
emotions at times. Like again, like when I think about terrible things, like, okay, so a perfect example. I play a horror LARP on the weekends where
Mhm.
at 3 o'clock in the morning, I could actually be running from monsters, fearing for my life, which makes it really easy to write about people running through the woods, fearing for their life.
Yeah.
The same way I have a lot of fun writing fight scenes. It's the same reason my characters tend to be very like snarky and sarcastic. Um, like almost like that Buffy, like Aaron Sorkin, like back and forth because I love it so much.
Yep.
Um, like I love some good banter. But also why so many of my characters have the drawback curiosity. Yeah, yeah. They shouldn't open those books, but they just keep doing it.
You have
I'm
to.
not mad because I'm their god. But
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
No, I love this. I love all of from this. That, are you ready for your lightning round questions?
Yes, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, all right, here we do. So, one, do you have a favorite plant child? Bonus
Mm.
points if it's in the room with you and you can show us.
I don't know if I do anymore. I recently had to rehome my Monstera deliciosa plant. It
Okay.
was actually triplets, but she was almost 6 feet tall, and I was running out of room for her in my house. Um, so probably my number two right now is very small because she's new. But this is my itty bitty little jade plant that my father-in-law just
Ooh.
gave me because he is also into stuff. When I got her, she just had this right here, but you can
Mhm.
see she's gotten super tall.
Yes.
Um, and then I also have really cool. And then this
Oh,
is
wow.
my fiddle leaf fig.
That is huge.
Her name is Fiona. She's a
Oh,
drama queen.
beautiful. Fiona is beautiful. I'm dying
Um,
to meet Fiona.
Yes, I got her as a juvenile when it was literally just three little stalks.
Mm,
And now she throws leaves almost constantly. And the great thing about fiddle leaf fig is they'll tell you when they're grumpy about the light or the water because all of their leaves just droop over because they're as dramatic as a writer is.
beautiful.
Um, and then also in this room, I've got aloe, one, two, three. Three varieties of pothos, two varieties of Swiss cheese
Wow.
plant, and one more that I don't actually know what it is. But then I have this goyle that a friend gave me from a cutting. And so she is in water with um a pothos cutting
Mm,
because if you didn't know this, pothos give off hormones in water that help other plants to root better. So if you have a pothos cutting and a cutting from another plant and you put them both in water, the other plant will start to grow a more robust root system because of the pothos.
that's actually really cool and good to know. I am jealous of all of your plants. I have
Yeah, I did not know about that.
horrible, yeah. I have horrible lighting in my house. And so I have my one plant that's up here and that's about it. Like nothing else will grow.
I have murdered so many plants. It's literally absurd. Um, I lost
It's a process of like learning
I
how to
lost something like
take care of
30
them.
snake plants in one
Wow.
winter. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like pothos because I can literally just put them in a mason jar full of water and they won't die if I just refill the water.
Maybe that's what I need. I still don't have sunlight though, so
I mean, they don't need a lot of sunlight. If you even have like indirect sunlight, they'll
Mhm.
probably be fine.
All right. I might have to look into those. Because I
They're
just want
not
plants
picky.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Pothos,
right.
I think, is probably the best option because they're really hardy. They're legitimately hard to kill, and you can plant them in water.
Okay. Yeah, no, I will be looking those up after we're done. I'm gonna Google that and find out where I can get some locally. All right, question number
Yeah.
2. What is your favorite type of cookie?
Snickerdoodles.
Ooh, interesting, interesting.
The ones
Homemade.
that are chewy.
Okay, good, good. I'm
They've
glad that you
gotta,
did
they
that.
can't be the crunchy ones because those ones,
No.
it's not right. It's gotta be the chewy and it's gotta have the little sprinkles on top so you get the like the chew, but the like very specific sugar crunch from the
Yes.
top.
Yes. No, I'm so glad that you specified because I feel like people who like crunchy cookies, I'm like, I like who hurt you as a child? Like what is this coming
I
from?
love I love a good like soft cookie.
Yes.
So I'll make like all winter long I'll make peanut butter cookies by like the batch where I'll
Hmm.
make like 50 cookies in a night because peanut butter cookies are so easy to make. All you
Yes.
need is like peanut butter and an egg, and you can make peanut butter cookies.
Yeah.
It's real easy. Um, And so I'll mix up like a giant batch and just be like, we're making cookies till we run out of batter.
Yep, that's amazing. Excellent choices. Excellent choices. All right, question three. What is your favorite punctuation to use when writing?
Mm. So this one's complicated. And that's because I want to say an M dash because I love a good M dash, but
Mhm.
I am notorious for overusing commas. So,
Really?
so like, do I wish I used the M dash correctly? Yes. Am I actually probably using too many commas? Also, yes.
Commas just come from the heart though. Like you just gotta like it's a vibe. You just gotta vibe those out and use
It's
them wherever you
anytime, yeah, it's anytime that I like take a breath,
want.
there's a comma going there. It's a,
Yeah.
and I've had so many editors be like, Jen, why? And it's just me being like, I don't know. I'm not like great at grammar. I tried.
Yeah, like that's your job. Like do your job. Come on. Um, I always have students who ask me, they're like, how do I know when to use a comma? And I'm always like, just you just gotta feel it. Does it feel like you should put a
You
comma
just vibes.
there? Yeah,
Look,
it's a vibe.
okay, vibes coding might be new, but vibes commas live forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally it's yeah, like it's honest. Like there's a couple places where you definitely have to do it, but otherwise like just follow your heart, kids. Which is probably not the greatest, but it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah, for me it's all like intuition of knowing where it's supposed to
Yeah.
go because of the way like school got weird for me because I'm a
Mm.
millennial. So like I was in elementary school when No Child Left Behind was introduced. They didn't teach me grammar right because of No Child Left Behind because when that was passed, they changed when they taught elementary schoolers certain things. Like things changed to like you're going to learn this in this grade and this in this grade and I was the year so I moved up a grade, and the year I left now learned grammar, but it used to be the year I was going into. So I never like diagramming sentences. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's witchcraft.
Yeah. And
So
honestly, diagramming sentences, nobody uses that. Nobody.
yeah, so like
Nobody.
I joke that I figured out where commas should go in two ways. One of those is like anytime I am talking and I take a breath, that's
Mhm.
where a comma should go. That includes reading out loud. If I am reading a really long sentence and I have to stop to take a breath, comma goes there. And otherwise, I learned it from reading books. If I use too many commas, blame Tolkien.
I like that. We'll just blame everybody else who came before us.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
obviously what happened. Look, holy run-on sentence, Batman.
Not Tolkien. No. Everything was so short and to the point in his book. I tried to reread that, The Hobbit, like, I don't know, 3 years ago. I was like, oh, I really love this. Like, I think I want to, it'll just be cozy. I'll reread it. I didn't get past this, like, the second page. I gave up. I'm like, oh my God, no. How did I
I
ever
had
enjoy this?
I haven't read or reread, rather, I should say, Lord of the Rings. How old am I now? I'm 38. In at least 20 years,
Yeah,
and I'm
don't do
okay
it.
with that.
Yeah, don't do
Like,
it.
now the one story I am going to tell about Lord of the Rings though was I was having trouble reading it because I was like 12 or 13. Like I was a smaller human. And I was reading it, and two things happened. One was that at the Battle of Helm's Deep, I started to get stuck, and my father started to theatrically recount to me the Battle of Helm's Deep because he knew it so well. And the second one with Lord of the Rings, and I attribute so much of my early love for reading to like my parents reading us the books, but specifically Tolkien, because
Uh-huh.
Tolkien was my introduction to fantasy.
Yes.
I got to the point where you find out that only Gandalf the Grey is dead and Gandalf the White lives on.
Uh-huh.
Now, when I found this out, it was 11 p.m. on a school night, and you can bet your bottom dollar I was supposed to be fully unconscious
Yes.
and was reading under the covers. And I get to Gandalf the White, and I come running out of my room, yelling with the book held above my head. And
Uh-huh.
it was a library copy, so I don't know if you remember these ones, but they were like the really big, like
Oh
hardback,
yeah.
like chonkers of books. and I am holding the book of my head, yelling, "He's alive! He's alive!" and doing laps around the living room while my father starts laughing so hard he is actively crying, and my mother just turns and looks at him and goes, "Well, this one's obviously yours."
Oh, that's
Like, if
great.
you ever weren't sure, now you know.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you just like not that you woke up because you were already awake, but you just like started running around. You're like, I don't care. I'm supposed to be in bed. Like
Oh
this is
yeah, it was
important.
I was so excited. I was so
Yeah.
in, like, especially because I had read The Hobbit first.
Hmm.
And so like I had already attached to Gandalf. He was
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Like I was here for it. And then that frickin' Balrog, which also, side note, if you have never read it, you should definitely read the National Lampoon's Board of the Rings if you've never read it. It's delightful. It's not a Balrog, it's a ball hog.
That's amazing.
It's
Yeah,
only
I'll have
like
to
a
look that up.
hundred, it's only like 120 pages. It's
Mhm.
hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like I had a similar Tolkien experience, but it was at the end of the second book. Um, I feel like we're spoiling everything about Lord of the Rings, but if you
It's
haven't read
Lord
it
of the
at this point,
Rings.
yeah, if you haven't read it at this point, that's a you problem. Um,
You haven't read it, you haven't watched it, you've got
yeah,
options. There's the animated one from the
yes. Oh
70s,
my
which includes
gosh.
the song, because, where there's a whip, there's a way. Yes, that's a
Yes,
song that the
that is a
orcs
song. Oh my
sing.
God.
There's the regular editions, there's the
Yeah,
extended editions,
yeah.
there's the books.
Hmm. There's TV shows now. But yeah, so I didn't read them until I was in college. So I was a junior in college, I think. And I was reading the second book and I finished it, I think at like 1 in the morning. Right, and you leave Frodo and he's just like wrapped up in the spider web and that's it. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, what's about to happen? I don't know what's gonna happen. And I forced my roommate to get up and I'm like, if you don't take me to Walmart right now and we have to find this book. And she was like, what is happening to you? And I'm like, you need to drive because I'm crying. I am weeping. And so we went to Walmart at like 1:30 in the morning and I got my book and I then found out that like he made it. But I was convinced, I was like, oh my God, he's like Frodo's done for. Like this is horrible.
Yeah, Frodo
Yeah.
lives, guys,
Yeah,
because
Frodo lives.
Sam, in his moment in despondency, sings. And even though Frodo is all effed up, he's so much a hobbit that he can't help but sing along.
Yes. Like life goal. I just want to be a hobbit. Like that's it. Oh, so yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that like we both had these such visceral responses to this book that like you ran around your house. I forced my college roommate to get up out of bed and take me to Walmart because we had to buy the book right
Oh,
then.
it's even worse than that. I imprinted on Eowyn as a very small child because I had access to the animated movies. And the first time that I saw Eowyn pop off with, "But I am no man," and then
Yes.
kill a ringwraith, I was like, oh, what is this?
Yes.
Oh, I really like this. Like, to the point that when I bought my new laptop, I have a sticker that is, "But I am no man." Like, she is one of my early archetypes for
Yes.
like, doesn't have to be super like, because Eowyn is a very interesting character in
Hmm.
that, like, yes, she goes to war because she has to, and the Rohirrim in her mind, like for
Yes, in
her
her
morals,
culture, yeah.
she has to. But at the same time, after that, she settles down and has a family, and like her and Faramir have a good life.
Yeah. I
And
have
like she
different
was
feelings
one.
about her. Like I agree with everything you said, but I didn't like her because at the time I really liked Faramir. I'm like, oh my God, who is this hot guy who just wants to hang out in the library and read books? God, he's so amazing. Um, and that really did it for me. And he ends up
Yeah,
marrying her, and I'm like, all right, fine.
I've always loved Eowyn. Eowyn was my girl.
Yeah.
Eowyn, like when it comes to female characters in Lord of the Rings, there's not many. She was
No.
mine.
Yeah, I mean, she is amazing, like top tier,
Yep,
100%. Oh, good. This is like we just bonded over Lord of the Rings. So on the heels of that
we did.
question, my fourth question for you is, what's a book you've read that has absolutely changed your life?
Oh, there's so many.
No. You can name more than one. I'm
As
not
I'm
going to
going
stop
to
you.
turn,
We get the slow
let's
swivel.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slow swivel. Oh my
Little super
goodness.
villainish with the just slow, and you got your hands up. I'm like, okay, this is
Um, the Kushil's Dart series by Jacqueline
okay.
Carey was one. The Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop was one that I was absolute like it's a series, it's not a single book, that's as close as I'm gonna get. The
Okay.
Locked Tomb books, because the brain rot there is so deep with me. Do not be a monster. Um, so for the Black Jewels trilogy, it was my first introduction to dark fantasy,
Hmm.
and it was the first time that I had seen it's dark and it's scary, but it's still fantasy, and it left a mark in my brain pan that is still there. I read those books so many times that I have owned 7 or 8 copies of each of the original
You
books
were
in the
talking earlier
trilogy.
about how they would just fall apart because you had
They
read them
would
so
fall
much.
apart because they were
Yeah.
mass market paperbacks. I also had an omnibus edition with
Ooh.
like Bible pages. That bitch was in 3 pieces at one point. Um, then there was Kushiel's Dart, Kushiel's
Mhm.
Chosen, and Kushiel's Avatar, but it's actually the full 6 book series, which the first trilogy is Fidri, the second trilogy is Imriel, and that showed me how like I just love those books in general. They're gigantic and lush and full
Yeah.
of like political intrigue and like so many things weaved together. And I think it's a really good example of now older romantic fantasy, which
Mhm.
we didn't really see a lot when I was coming up in the early 2000s. But it's also a really good way to be like, okay, here's a story that we start in this first book, and then fully like 20 years later, we're going in within the like book world. We're going to return to what happened in that first book, but through the lens of this last book. And there's a lot of things in there about like the cyclical nature of stories,
Mhm.
how people change, how people don't change. Like I love them so so much.
I've heard a
Um
lot of people talk about Kushiel's Dart. I have never personally read it, but it's come up several times in conversations, like in the past year. And I'm part of we call it the Slow Readers Fantasy Book Club. So we read one book over like 3 to 4 months because none of us have the time to read a huge book.
it's
That might have to be one that comes up.
It's got a lot of politics.
Yeah, love political things in books.
It's got like sex is built right into it in a way that is very much like these are people like there's so much mythology in it. It's like a
Hmm.
medievalish France except in a fantasy world. It's like there's so much going on there and I love it so
Yeah.
much. But I will say that if you're going to read them, definitely look up the trigger warnings because there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of stuff in there like that you should be aware of. It's not anything that bothers me, and I wouldn't say it's to the level of like what dark romance is, but
Mhm.
don't like make sure that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
nothing on your list.
Yeah, no, we will. We will. We do that like with all the books. We're always
Yeah, but
I'm the one who kind of like ends up picking our books, but at the same time I take the general interest and I'm like, all right, guys, read about these, find out what we want to do.
yeah, I really enjoy them. I don't know if you would they're I would say they're closer to romantic fantasy than romantasy
Mhm.
because the romance doesn't really start to like hit until the second book.
Okay.
But it is like for slow burn, delicious girlfriend. Oh my God.
Yes. My
Um,
favorite.
and it's also where that which yields is not weak comes from. It's like there's so many really cool, and it's like they are so we were talking earlier about how fast I read. I don't read
Mhm.
those books fast. They are like at least a week per book, even
Okay.
for me, because there is so much going on that like every time I reread them, I'm like, oh, I missed that last time, and I
Yeah.
missed that time, and which is also why I love to revisit books so
Yeah.
much.
I That's why I
Um,
love rereading. I learn so much every time I go back.
And then the third one that I talked about is the Locked Tomb series, which
Mhm.
is Gideon the Ninth, Harrow the Ninth, Nona. I am hook, line, and sinker for these books. Like they've got I mean, it's like they made them for me. They've got
Yeah.
bones, they've got magic, they've got lesbians, they've got secret messages in the freaking chapter headers. Are you
Yep.
serious? But I remember when I first started to read them, I've had a lot of friends over the years that were super into Warhammer, which has a lot of like mythos, and I feel like Gideon takes the interesting parts of the mythos and they're like, yeah, forget all of those stupid miniatures and their lies. Like, instead, we're going to talk about the cool stuff about this, but also God is a dick. Um, and so again, it's one of those books where there's so much going on that I see different things each
Every
time.
time. Yeah.
I remember thinking from the first page, I've never seen language that is both so archaic and so like crude at the same time. Because like you go
That's
from
a great way to describe it. Yes.
like these big words and like all of the like extra words for bones, and then
Mm.
it's Gideon being like titty mags,
Yep.
which I just love because like in a world that it is that old, that's what it would be like. Because like
Yeah.
a person that age is still a person that age,
Yes.
even if all she's been doing is push-ups.
Yep.
So those are the three, which like two of those are older, one of those is
Mm.
obviously newer. Two of those were very like teenage gen, like
Yeah.
they were so good for me. And there's reasons that I have owned many copies of everything but the Gideon books because I found out about Gideon early, so I always have those pre-ordered. Like I have the first run of Gideon the Ninth with like the tour edition with the black sprayed edges. Like I love them.
Did
I
you
love
did you
them.
get like the Illumicrate, the really fancy Illumicrate ones?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
did, however, for Illumicrate special editions, I'm a
Mm.
giant V.E. Schwab fan too,
Yes.
and I did get the oh God, I can't remember the name of the series. Her super big trilogy, fantasy
The
trilogy.
Shades of Magic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when they did, I think it was like 2020 or 2021, they
And
did
they
the
kept
like
messing up like the
super pre
colors.
yeah.
Yeah.
The hardbacks with like
Hmm.
the ribbon interior. Have
Yeah.
I read all three of those books? No, but I own them. I'll get around to it. I read the first one. They were just so pretty and I wanted them. So they're
Yeah, no,
mine.
you should. And you could get the cheaper paperback copies to buy, like to read.
Oh no, I'm still gonna read the nice
Okay. All
ones.
right.
Books are I like I totally get people who are like, I'm gonna buy these super nice editions and I'm never gonna open them. Couldn't be me.
Yeah.
I won't loan those copies out to people, but
Right.
I'm not hard on my books. Like, I don't crack the spines.
Hmm.
I don't, like, most of my books, even my paperbacks, like, for instance, um, so just taking a random paperback off the shelf, I've got a Desolation Called Peace, and I've read this copy, and this is a paperback.
Yeah. That looks
So
brand new. You are gentle on your books. I'm not that gentle, but I'm not like aggressive with my books either.
yeah,
Um,
it's because I destroyed so many books when I was younger that I was used to how gentle I needed to be with a mass market paperback, and now I don't buy mass market paperbacks. I buy trade
mhm.
paperbacks, which are bound better. And
Yes.
so unless you're like and trying to do them physical harm, it's more difficult to do that as
Yeah.
opposed to my my poor mass market paperbacks, which are in rough
Yeah.
condition.
They're well
Um,
loved. They are well
they
loved.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I get the pretty editions and I will read them. The only exception being there are a couple books that I love so much. So I love Laini Taylor. So I have six different versions of Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares and six different versions of the whole Daughter and Smoke of Bone trilogy. And so I only read the normal ones, but the rest are just on my shelf because I own them. And I'll leaf through them
Yeah.
every now and then. And I'm just like, oh, I
I
love you so
don't
much.
I
But
don't often buy books that I already have a
yeah.
copy of. Um, just because it's not that I don't love the special editions, and I
Mhm.
absolutely support people who want like six copy, like what you were talking about. Absolutely
Yeah.
support you, girl. Get your books, do it. I'm here for you. Um, but for me, it's gotta be something special, special
Mhm.
for me to want another copy of a book I
Yeah.
already have because I want even more books.
Yeah. And
And so if
limited
I have
space.
two
Yeah.
of the same book, that means that there's another book out there that I don't know about yet, or I do, and I just haven't picked up yet that I
Mhm.
don't know where I'm gonna put it.
Yes.
Um,
That's
like,
fair. Yeah. Yeah. And
and
I only have like three or four books and or authors that I do that with. And like
yeah,
she is my
what I
biggest
will,
example.
yeah, what I will do very often because I read a lot of arcs because NetGalley has my freaking number, is that very often when I read arcs, I will forget to buy the physical, and
Hmm.
then like things will happen and they'll be like, "Ooh, special edition of these." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've read them, but I don't own them yet because it was arcs." Which
Yeah.
is what happened with oh snap. I can't remember the name of the book, so I'm just gonna show you.
Yeah, please. I love that we're getting like this little personal like tour of your bookshelves.
Yes. So this is Two Twisted Crowns.
Okay.
And so it's One Dark Window and then Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillick. These were the Barnes and Noble exclusive,
Mhm.
like the special edition exclusives. Like, look at these.
That is gorgeous.
Like,
Yeah.
and so I read both
Yep.
of these as arcs.
Yep.
Um, but for my birthday this year, I literally just posted on like my personal socials, like my personal Facebook, and was like, "Hey guys, like, because my birthday's in March, so I don't usually do a lot for it because it's miserable outside." Um, and I was like, "If you wanted to get me something for my birthday, you can send me money and I will
Mhm.
post my book haul." And my friends showed out. Some of them
Yeah.
sent me like gift cards, some of them sent me cash, stuff like that. And I went and bought like 17 new books
That's
in a
amazing.
day. Like
Yeah.
I had like just shy of $300. There were sales going on at Barnes and
Yep.
Noble at the time. I stopped by because Baltimore is full of independent bookstores. We
Hmm.
have indie bookstores as far as the eye
Oh,
can
that's so
see.
awesome.
Um, our our benches in the city, I don't know if they still say it, but they we used to be Baltimore, the city that reads. And so like my personal favorite is Greedy Reads. It's not just because they're green, but it helps.
Ah,
There's also Charm City Books, the Ivy. There's like we've got like 10 plus independent bookstores inside of the city.
amazing.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Um, can't find one in the county to save your life, but if you just come into Baltimore, we got your books.
And it's so
Um,
important to go to independent bookstores. So yes, that's where you should be buying so many books.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like I do tend to buy a lot of books at Barnes and Noble because they do like sales and I can get my
Mhm.
stamps and then I use my stamps to feed my pre-order habit because
Yes.
that's how I get my pre-orders is I just save my $5 off coupons till I have
Yeah.
enough for a book and then I use it that
That's
way.
real.
But usually if I'm doing like a big book haul, I will also stop by at least one of my indies to pick up like two or three that I know that I want.
Mhm.
Um, and so this year I bought an almost egregious amount of books, honestly. It was a concerningly large stack to some people. I think I've read all of the birthday books. I think.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
yeah. That's awesome though. Like why you should buy more books. Like always,
Because
more books
well,
is always the answer.
well, so hold on. Is it? Yeah. So this entire row,
Hmm.
this entire row, and this entire row are all my TBR shelves. Those
Wow.
are all books I have purchased, but not read.
Haven't read yet. Okay, that's not too bad. That's not
It's
too bad.
like, it's probably like 85 books.
Yeah. I feel like that's very manageable, especially if you're a fast reader. Like you got this.
Well, so the problem is that because I usually average between like 60 and 75 books, physical books a year, which is
Hmm.
solid. The problem is that as soon as there's a gap, I acquire more books.
Yes.
And one of my partners will just take me to the bookstore like quarterly and give me either a number of books or a dollar amount and unleash me in the store.
that is love right there.
So
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, so I'll be like, "Oh, baby, I've got like less than 70 books on my TBR. I'm so excited." And he'll be like, "Oh, time to go to the bookstore." And it's not like I'm gonna be like, "No, don't
Yeah,
do
don't do
that."
it.
Or my anchor partner, our local game store also cultivates a book section,
Yes.
and the owner is a friend of ours. And so sometimes I'll just get like photos of new books they've gotten in from the owner being like, "Oh, Jen, did you know about this one yet? Stocked it just for you." Like, how am I not gonna go
Yeah,
there?
you have to. You're like obligated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, like real talk. I imprinted on Bell's library as like a 4-year-old. There was no going back for me. One day I'm gonna need ladders and it's gonna be the greatest day of my life.
Yes. I I want this for you and I want to see pictures when this happens. Like I'm here to
Yeah,
support.
like I am very close right now to filling up all four of these. When I moved into
Mhm.
Baltimore in 2019, I only had four short boys, and I am now almost completely out of room.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no regrets. There's
Yeah.
no regrets whatsoever. It's very exciting for me, but it's also going to get to a point where I can't fit the entire library in one room, and then it's going to
Mhm.
get real weird where I'm like, okay, but like what books don't get to stay in this room?
Yeah.
How do I
Yeah.
split them up?
How do you decide? Yeah. No, that's amazing. So many books, as you should, as you should. You need all the books. So
Exactly.
yeah. And we got good
Look,
book
okay.
recommendations. So we all need to add those books to our pile if we haven't already read them so that they can also change our lives.
Yeah, like buying books and reading books are two different hobbies. I
Very
just
different.
happen to have both of them.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, like again, like 85-ish books, like that's not bad. Like you're doing good. I know some people are like, I have like 500 books. And I'm like, how do you have 500 books on your TBR? Like,
I mean, like my Goodreads TBR, yeah, sure. Anything that looks remotely
yes.
interesting, just add to list,
Yep.
add to list.
Boom,
My
boom.
physical, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I do
It's
get a
gonna
little
make the
bit
cut.
bad at,
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm worse when I'm at like book events, especially when there's like other indie authors,
Yep.
because I'll be like, "Ooh, you want to trade? Ooh, you want to
Yeah.
trade? Ooh, you
And
want
you
to
want to
trade?"
support and like I think
Um,
that that's so important because they tried to tell you that it didn't make a difference in sales. I will almost always buy a book if I'm standing in front of like the author who wrote it and they're selling it to me. I'm like, yes, this sounds amazing.
yeah. And it's also like the worst comes to worst, I'll bring your book home. I'll either read it and like
Mhm.
it, in which point it goes on the shelf. If I don't like it, it just goes to the
Bring it
library,
home. Yeah.
which means new readers are gonna find it anyway.
Right.
Like it is very rare. The only books that don't go to the library are like the turf that must not be named.
Yeah.
Those books go into solitary and they're not allowed to be put back into circulation because of
Yeah.
reasons. But
Agreed.
for the most part, like even books that I don't really like, I just look at it as like, oh, this book wasn't for me. That's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, we're
Like
not always the
my
reader
books
for the
are
book.
yeah, it's a thing I think that some authors forget, which is that like my books are not for everyone. They're for the
Mhm.
people that like the I absolutely hope that they find their audience, but there are people who will not enjoy my books. And so like I don't hold that against them. Like there are books I don't like. There's nothing wrong with that. But you just, you send it off into the universe and let it find its people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No. That's amazing. So on that note of like everybody has to find their own books, you can find Jen's books linked down below. Go to her webpage, buy the books, find them, get ready for Sins of
Sins of Survival.
Sins of Survival in 2026, which is a great title. Um,
I
I
really
like
like
that
that the acronym is SOS.
I didn't even think of that. That's amazing. I was just gonna say I like that you have sins and then you have cinders.
Yeah,
So
I have no idea how I'm gonna pull that off with book three, real talk.
yeah, like completely different words, but they've got that. So yeah, like good luck. You got this. I believe in you.
I'll figure it out.
So check out Jen's website. It's linked down below to learn more about her books and get reading. Jen, thank you so much for chatting with the Scribbler's Den and sticking with us through all of our internet tomfoolery.
Absolutely. I was so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right, Scribblers, you know the drill. I need you to hit the like button. I need you to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.